Hello, this is Daniel Budoff, and for my presentation, I've analyzed the Temple of Solomon. In this presentation, we will go over the construction of the temple and its specific and strenuous requirements, the holy materials the temple required, the beautiful and articulate design of the temple, and the extremely difficult construction process that not only lengthened the amount of time needed to create the temple, but caused an immense amount of extra workers needed. I have asked the question, how is the process of the construction and design of the Solomon's temple symbols of the Israelites' devotion to God? I have formulated the answer that the overall design, construction, and materials needed are all examples of just how much the Israelites were willing to sacrifice and give to their God. Solomon's temple, also known as the First Temple, was, according to the Torah and the Bible, the first Jewish temple in Jerusalem. It functioned as a place for religious worship and the sacrifices done in ancient Judaism. It stood 60 cubits long, 20 cubits wide, and 30 cubits high. The temple was created when God spoke to Solomon and commanded him to build a place of worship for God. It was constructed in 832 BCE and was the most expensive temple in history. The process of construction. The process of construction and building the temple, only blocks dressed at the quarry were used, and no hammer, chisel, or any other iron tool was heard at the temple site while it was being built. The Israelites did not want any loud noises in the temple to disturb God's sanctuary, so the people molded the blocks by hand and were unable to use tools such as hammers or chisels. People wanted the blocks to be in their virgin form, untouched by man. The extra effort and time that would be needed to craft the blocks by hand expresses how the Israelites were willing to put as much work and time necessary to build God's abode. The word of the Lord came to Solomon, "As for this temple you are building, if you follow my decrees, observe my laws, and keep all my commands and obey them, I will live among the Israelites and will not abandon my people." The quote explains God telling Solomon that as long as he follows God's specific commands on the construction of the temple, he will bless the people of Israel and always protect the people. The chosen materials. The amount of gold and silver used was beyond compare. This gave it the beauty of holiness, that it was the house of the Lord, which was far beyond all other beauties. The massive amount of gold and silver used showed their devotion to God. Solomon attempted to make the temple more grand and magnificent than any other temple in the world. The temple used 76 million pounds of silver and 8 million pounds of gold. The relative amount of gold and silver used compared to now would be worth approximately $139 billion. Cedar timber was very much used in the construction of Solomon's temple and palace. The trees being cut in the Lebanon by Sidonians by orders of the king of Tyre, Hiram gave Solomon timber of cedar and timber of fir, according to all his desires. The cedar wood was a symbolic and holy wood of the land. It was known as the glory of Lebanon by Solomon. Not only was it highly praised, but in ancient times it was believed to be a way of cleansing the body, and it would be used in many spiritual rituals. Not only was gold and cedar used, but in the temple, the use of timber from Lebanon and water from Bethlehem was used as well. The use of these materials shows that the Israelites will go through any measures to get the most holy materials to please God. The design of the temple. The walls of the Holy of Holies was lined with cedar and had carvings of angels, palm trees, and open flowers. All of the carvings were covered in gold. The doors of the Holy of Holies was made of olive wood. The carvings of the angels, palm trees, and open flowers were carved onto the doors as well. The Holy of Holies contained 2 cherubim of olive wood. The wings touched the wall on either side and met in the center room. The cherubim wings were spread out to cover the entire room as a way to symbolize that the room is a holy and spiritual place within the temple. They designed the cherubims to touch and surround the room as a way to represent that the most holy room in the temple was protected by God. In times of the ancient Romans, the palm tree that was carved into the wood symbolized triumph and victory in battle. And in the times of the Israelites, some Jewish thinkers believed it was a symbol of divine communication, with the palm trees being used as a pillar stretching from earth to heaven. Time and work needed. The precision of the Israelites was so strong that they used the exact number of years needed to construct the temple in order to parallel the amount of time it took to create the universe. The immense amount of time needed required the use of 180,000 workers. An immense quantity of people were willing to sacrifice their own time to create the place of God. With the use of many workers, there must be time taken away from people's jobs and the welfare of the community. Thank you for listening to my project.